Okay, today it is super simple. We just have to change to change a general form to factored form, and we're even only doing the easy ones today. So it's so easy that I took some time at the beginning of the hour to do something fun, just a little math behind water. And would you take a look at this one? A lot of people are like, oh, Mr. Server, you chose a bad number. F of 9, it's not even on the graph. Are they right? Well, yeah, it's not even on the graph. That's true. Could you still figure out f of 9 somehow? Yes, you could. Let's start with an easy one. What is f of 0? Say it if you know it. 3. What's f of 1? 4. What's f of 2? 3. I think you get the idea. How about f of 4? What's f of 4? Wait a minute. Oh, that's f of 3 is 0. F of 4, you can't see it, right? So then you better change methods, otherwise you're never going to be able to figure all the other ones out. So that means you should be able to write an equation for this. Everybody write what the equation is. I'll give you a hint. You can either use vertex form and use the vertex, or you can use these two guys and make it factored form. Either way, you can write the equation, and once you have the equation, I shouldn't probably use y. What should I probably use? F of x, even though it's the same thing. Write an equation for this one, either with vertex or factored form, and then you'll be able to tell me what f of 9 is, because once you have the equation, it's easy. All right, I'm going to pause for a second while you give that a try. Okay, so hopefully at this point you have either written it with the vertex or with the roots. I tried not to bias you too much. I personally like the roots way better, but it's totally up to you. How many of you did it with the vertex? Raise your hand if you did it the vertex way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And I want to note, this is strange, but every one of those kids is a straight A student. So I don't know what that means. All right. So how about this way? Well, that's everybody else, right? I like it that way. I like it x, and then that's a -1, so I'm going to say +1. And then I'd say x, and that's a +3, so I'm going to say -3. And then I just did it wrong. One of the things that either form, whether you do this way or the other way, that you got to remember is to look and see if it's upside down. Who remembered a negative in front of either equation? And that's 2/3 of the class remembered it. That's more than I thought. All right, here, let me write it for the vertex. If you write it in vertex form, it always looks like this, and then you drop in the vertex. In this case, the vertex is at 1, 4, so I go -1 plus 4, and then easy still to forget, the negative in the front of the whole thing. Now, it's really just up to you on what you want, okay? This one will give you the vertex better. This one will give you the factors better. But which one's easier to figure out when you put in a number like 9? Well, I'm going to try it both ways. I'm going to put 9 in here. You guys put it into your favorite one. I don't care. I guess I have to write 2 9s in the one method. 8 squared 64, -64 plus 4 is -60. And this other one, 10, 6, 60, -60. I think it's almost the same speed. I don't think either one's necessarily faster. Raise your hand if you had -60. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can get the equation. All right. So here's one that's the same idea, except instead of telling you a picture, they're telling you the info in words. And then you can write the equation. I'm going to pause for a sec while you give this one a try. In factored form, go ahead, sir. Yep. Very nice. And notice it said no stretches, so there's no number in front, and no reflections, so there's no negative in front. All right. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, awesome. Now here's the problem. It said write it in vertex form. I would agree to write it this way, and you didn't do it wrong. It's just I can't stop here because otherwise I get it wrong on the test. What do I do next, RS? Me? Yes, you. I try not to say the kids' names on the video. Use you like abbreviations.
Wouldn't you find that the average between the square
You absolutely can. The average between the two roots, which was -4 and 2, and the average of those two, if I add them up, I get -2. Divide by 2, I get -1. And now I have just found the x of my vertex. You get what just happened there? I averaged these two to find the line that runs down the middle. Somebody else is going to say, but Mr. Server, I wanted to multiply it out and get x squared plus 2x minus 8. And I wanted to do the -b over 2a thing. And I would say, that's smart, totally smart. And guess what you get? -1. So either way it works. Either way you get -1. But either way you don't have the last part. Mr. T, you need big gold chains and huge muscles, and then I call you Mr. T for real. Keep going. What do I do with the -1? Do you know? Put it back in the equation. So I'm going to put a -1 in either equation. Yeah, either equation. -1, -1, or -1 and -1. If I'm doing it in this one, I'm putting in parentheses for sure. I really should do both. And that's going to come out to 3 and -3. You're going to notice that happens a lot when you're in the factored form. 3 times -3, -9. Raise your hand if you had -9. Awesome. Guess what this would have come out to? Same thing. Okay. And then I got the vertex, but I still haven't actually answered the question. Another typical ACT thing. They get you to like think that you just should solve for like the vertex. But then the question wasn't really the vertex. The question was vertex form. All right, Mr. Crayon, can you tell us what vertex form of the equation would be then?
Y equals x plus 4 squared plus 2.
You're using the roots. There's a reason we just went through and figured out this -1, -9 thing. We needed the vertex. You just popped your roots into your equation. You know what I'm talking about? Try again.
X plus 1.
Yep.
And then minus 9.
That is correct. Make sense? Raise your hand if you had that one right. That was only about half the class. All right, we're going to do one more time. Everybody try this one since I only had half the people with me. 5, 0 and -2, 0 are the roots. Write the equation in vertex form. First, you might start with factored form, but then write it in vertex form. Pause for a second. Let me give that a try. So here's what I think you would have done. Oh, sorry. I was messing with some settings while you were gone there. And then you multiply it out. Don't have to, but I personally like to. And then I personally kind of like the -b over 2a thing. So -b, remember that's x. -b over 2a is 3 over 2 times 1, which is 3 over 2. Now that's a bit of a pain. How many got 3 over 2? Raise your hand if you did. Okay, good. I can tell the beginning of vertex form then. It's x minus 3 over 2 squared, and then I just don't know what this number is on the outside. How do I get that number? Yes?
You plug it into the...
Yeah, plug it in to the equation. And you can pick either form of the equation. I personally think putting a 1.5 in here and here is going to be easier, because I don't have to square 1.5 that way. Okay, so I'm going to say 1.5 minus 5 is 3.5, right? And then 1.5 plus 2 is 3.5. Look at that. One's -3.5, one's positive 3.5. So whatever 3.5 times 3.5 with a negative on it is. Somebody save me some time. What'd you get? 12.25. Can anybody verify 12.25? Oh, 2 kids? All right. I'm gonna show you how you would multiply that out then. So it's 3.5 times 3.5, in case you've forgotten. 5 times 5, 25. 5 times 3 is 15. Add the 2, 17. 0 to hold the place. 3 times 5, 15. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And making sure I didn't mess anything up. Okay, 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3. It's a 7, isn't it? Okay, so that's 2 and a 1 up there. And then I move the decimal over 2 spots because there's 2 decimals in the problem. 12.25 is correct. And since there's no negative on it, oh wait, there is a negative on it. One of these was negative. Negative 12.25. That was as hard as they could be on the test. This genre of problem, that's pretty much it. All right. You can always practice that again before you take the test, but let's take a look at some of these other slides. This is just reminding you that you can take this to that by factoring. But it is saying a dumb old rule that I don't want you to use, so I'm going to quickly move over this slide. Let's get to this slide. Because what they're saying is that you should find everything that multiplies to 18 and then find out what they add up to. But that only works on the easy kind of factoring. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Let me show you what I mean. Go to this blue page. And once kids get in the pattern of it multiplies to 4 and it adds to 5, that's great until this number in the front changes. And then that screws you up. And nobody can do the hard factoring because they got that old rule stuck in their head. So I want to show you a better rule. All right, everybody two sets of parentheses underneath this puppy. And I know most of you can factor by now, but then let's put x and x, because everybody knows that x times x makes x squared. And then let's put a plus and a plus, because if there's only pluses in the problem, there can only be pluses in your answer. And then the last thing is it's super simple. Try things that multiply to 4, and then instead of saying add to 5, check what the answer is by the outside and the inside. So what multiplies to 4? Well, 2 and 2. If I put a 2 and a 2, then I check the outside and the inside. Those are the ones that give you the middle. Why is this way better? Because if there was a number here, it would factor it in. Okay, so I'm going to undo that number now. And that one did not work because that makes a total of 4x, and that's not what I wanted on the inside. So now I'm going to back up until I go, oh, must have been 4 and 1. And how do I know it's right? Not because they add to 5, but because 4x and 1x make 5x. It's a subtle difference, but I'm telling you, tomorrow, literally tomorrow, the problems are going to be like this. 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. And if you try to make them multiply to this and add to that, it won't work. What should they do? Well, they should. Okay, why don't you guys try to factor this one, and you'll see what I mean about how they will not multiply to 1 and add to 3. Pausing. So this one was 2x and x. And what multiplies to 1? Well, that's pretty simple. 1 and 1. And how do you know if it's right? Because 1 and 1 add up to 3? No. Because the outside and the inside together make the 3. All right. So I know today's pretty easy, and that's why we had so many other things involved. And this is the part where I should probably get you to the homework, because I think you can do this stuff pretty easily from here. So I am just going to fast forward to the end and say you have a homework assignment, which is a worksheet. Go to the worksheet and see if you can find it, please. I'm going to pause the video for a second so that I can tell you which problems to skip. All right, I have seen the worksheet, and I have determined that you would be just fine if you do the odds on this worksheet. That'll cut it obviously in half. And so I strongly recommend doing the odds only, and then if you want to, you've got evens for like more practice. If you realize there's a certain kind you're bad at, you can always go back and do the other ones. So just do the odds on today's worksheet. And there's a little bit of time left, yay. And that's all I have for you for the video for today.